dead. The cold winds blew hard across the icy land of Antarctica. Snow covered everything for miles. Deep under the thick ice, something old and silent began to wake up. No human knew it was there. No scientist, no soldier, no satellite had ever found it. It had been sleeping for hundreds of years, hidden deep inside the Earth, waiting for a signal. Far away, near the edge of Earth's space territory, an outpost picked up something strange. A signal came from the darkness beyond. Mars. It wasn't a normal signal. It was made of strange energy patterns, sharp, fast, and hard to understand. The signal repeated only one thing: a strange alien code. The scientists at the outpost sent the message to Earth's military command, but no one replied. High Command went silent. No orders, no warnings, only quiet fear. The people at the outpost began to feel like something bad was coming. They watched as their scanners picked up unknown ships entering the system. Small, fast, and quiet. These were scout ships from the Galactic Empire. Earth had known about the Empire for years, but had stayed hidden from it. Now, it seemed, the Empire had found them. But why were they just watching? In a cold, quiet control room buried under Antarctica, a single light turned on. A machine came to life. It spoke 3 words in a deep, digital voice. The Empire returns. No one heard it. No one was there. The machine had been alone for centuries, waiting for that one signal to activate it. The lights slowly filled the giant underground chamber. The walls were smooth black metal. In the center, a shape began to appear through the thick fog. Huge, long, like a beast sleeping in a cave. It was not just a machine. It was a supercarrier, a warship unlike anything ever built. The AI system inside the underground base began scanning the world. It reached into satellites, cameras, and old communication lines. It woke up more systems, opening ancient vaults and sealed doors. It chose not to alert the world yet. It watched quietly. It wanted to understand the threat first. The AI's memory files spoke of war, old wars from the early days of space exploration. Earth had hidden this weapon for a reason. It was not built to fight small enemies. It was built to face something big. Back at the outpost near Mars, the alien scout ships moved closer. One of Earth's satellites went offline, then another. The scientists grew more nervous. Earth Command still said nothing. The outpost's leader, Captain Raiden, sent a final message. We are being watched. If you hear this, prepare for something large. Moments later, the outpost went silent. In major Earth cities, there was no panic. No one knew what was happening. The skies were quiet. Life moved on. But in secret rooms, generals and world leaders were now whispering about the unknown signal, about the silence from Mars, and about one terrifying word that had appeared on a private channel: Leviathan. General Solace, an old military leader, stared at the word on his screen. He had heard it only once before, many years ago during a secret training session. It was a name they were never supposed to speak. He called an emergency meeting. Only a few people were invited. People who knew the old Earth defense program. They spoke in whispers about a ship that was never supposed to exist. They had heard stories of an AI system that had been sealed after the First Galactic War. No one had seen it. No one had proof. But now, the signs were coming together. Far under the ice, the AI completed its checks. It began warming up the engines. The giant warship, hidden under miles of ice, was preparing to rise. It sent a message to the High Command. Project Leviathan is active, awaiting orders. The generals stared at the message in silence. No one moved. The president of Earth Alliance finally spoke. Her voice was cold. If the Empire is coming, then we have no choice. The ground near Antarctica shook slightly. It was barely felt by the nearest research station. One scientist looked out the window and saw strange light in the distance. He grabbed his camera and zoomed in. For a second, he saw something move, something large, black, and glowing with red energy. Then the snow covered it again. The video uploaded to the network, but was quickly deleted by an unknown system. In the blackness of space, the Empire's scout ships began reporting strange power levels from Earth. They sent messages back to the main fleet, but before they could escape, something jammed their signals. Their engines shut down. Their screens turned to static. And then, silence. Earth was waking up. And no one, not even Earth's own people, understood what had been hidden beneath them for so long. The calm was breaking. The silence before the storm had ended, and the galaxy was about to witness something it had never seen before. Beneath the frozen land of Antarctica, the ancient lights were now fully awake. The walls inside the hidden base glowed with blue and red colors. Machines began moving. Steam hissed from old pipes. Thick dust fell as metal doors unlocked. Deep, within the massive underground chamber, the warship known as Leviathan opened its eyes. It had no crew. It didn't need one. The ship was alive in its own way. Its systems were controlled by an old but powerful AI. One that had been sleeping since the end of Earth's first war among the stars. On the surface, a small team of military engineers arrived at a long-forgotten outpost in Antarctica. They had been called by a secret code only a few knew. As they landed, they saw strange heat signatures below the ice. The ground was warm, too warm for Antarctica. They entered the old station and went down an elevator that hadn't moved in hundreds of years. What they found stunned them. Miles below the surface, they stood in front of a gigantic door. On it were just two words burned into the steel: Project Leviathan. The door opened slowly, shaking the ground. What they saw inside took their breath away. A massive ship, almost a floating city, stood in the dark. It looked like a sea creature from nightmares, black and sharp, with layers of weapons, hangars, and strange alien-like armor. They didn't understand how Earth had ever built something this huge without anyone knowing. One engineer whispered, This isn't a ship. It's a monster." Meanwhile, the Empire's scout ships circled Earth from far above. They didn't attack. Not yet. They scanned everything: cities, energy grids, satellites. They were testing Earth's strength, and what they found made them laugh. Earth's public defenses were weak. Old space stations, outdated warships, and no signs of real power. The Empire was preparing a report. They believed Earth was no threat, but they didn't know what was sleeping below the surface. Inside the command center of the Leviathan base, the AI connected to satellites across the world. It stayed hidden, only watching. It opened private channels to high military offices. Generals, commanders, even the Earth Alliance president received messages with a single warning: "The Empire has arrived. Leviathan is rising." Some didn't believe it. Others did. But no one spoke about it in public. Panic would destroy them faster than any enemy. The president met with a secret council. Inside a dark bunker under Geneva, they saw the live video feed. The ship had begun its startup sequence. Its engines glowed softly. The air around it moved. Everyone in the room felt one thing: fear. But not fear of the Empire. Fear of the thing they had built long ago. A weapon so powerful, so secret, that even Earth had chosen to forget it. The Empire's sensors suddenly picked up an energy spike from Antarctica. They couldn't see what it was, but it was strong. They marked the planet as potentially dangerous. One scout ship moved closer to investigate, but before it could reach Earth's orbit, it vanished from radar. No explosion, no signal, just gone. The Empire's commanders were confused. They didn't know that Leviathan had already launched a silent countermeasure, an invisible pulse weapon designed to stop any ship without firing a shot. On Earth, the activation continued. A loud, deep sound filled the underground base. The engines of Leviathan powered on. The walls shook. Ice cracked above. A long platform slowly moved upward, lifting the warship toward the surface. Cameras inside the base showed the massive size of the ship. From nose to tail, it was longer than any modern Earth carrier. It could hold hundreds of fighter ships. Inside, its armor was layered with experimental materials, and its mind, its AI, had access to all of Earth's war history and strategies. All over the world, strange things began to happen. Satellites turned themselves off. Communication lines rerouted. Old bunkers once thought empty were now alive with light. Engineers in secret bases began receiving orders from unknown systems. Earth's old defense network, one that had been shut down for peace, was now waking up, guided by Leviathan's AI. At a small research base near the South Pole, a scientist named Dr. Ellen Reyes stepped outside to check the temperature sensors. She looked up and saw a dark shape moving in the sky. It was huge and silent. Clouds parted slowly around it. Her hands shook. She raised her camera, but before she could record, her device shut down. She stared in disbelief. She had seen something that didn't belong in the sky, something terrifying, something built by Earth. Back in space, the Empire sent a second scout ship. This time they watched carefully. As it passed near Earth's orbit, its screens went black. Before the crew could react, their engines shut off and the ship began to drift. They sent a distress signal, but it was never received. A strange voice whispered through the ship's speaker system. "You are not alone. Return now." The Empire had planned to ignore Earth. Now, they were not so sure. Something powerful was hidden there. Something even their sensors couldn't see. They started to suspect that Earth had more secrets than they thought. The Leviathan hovered just below the ice's surface now. It waited. It was cloaked, invisible to all, but awake, watching, thinking, ready to rise the moment it was called. Earth was no longer the weak world the Empire believed it to be. A storm was coming, and Leviathan was its first wave. The ice cracked loudly in the silent land of Antarctica. Slowly, almost like a giant beast taking its first breath, the Leviathan began to rise. Thick blocks of ice split apart and fell away as the hidden platform pushed upward, carrying the massive warship toward the surface. Snow flew in every direction. The sky above was gray and cold, but inside the ship's core, it was burning with power. The AI inside Leviathan had finished its final checks. All systems were green. All weapons were online. Earth's greatest secret was no longer sleeping. Above Earth, the Empire's fleet had arrived. No longer just scouts, these were battle cruisers, destroyers, and command vessels. Hundreds of ships lined the edge of Earth's orbit. They floated, like shadows, silent and dark, waiting for orders. The Empire still hadn't declared war. They didn't need to, not yet. They believed Earth would submit. That was always the way. Show strength, make the weaker planet bow. But this time, they had made a mistake. A quiet one, but deadly. Back in orbit, the Empire's commander, High Admiral Threx, watched the planet through his command ship's large screen. His sharp golden eyes studied Earth carefully. His voice was calm as he spoke to his officers. "There is something below the ice. Our sensors can't see it, but we feel it. This world hides something. Ancient." One of his officers stepped forward. "Shall we begin the orbital sweep, sir?" Threx didn't answer immediately. He looked out at the spinning blue planet and smiled. "Yes. Wake them up." At the same time, General Solace stood inside Earth's hidden war room. He watched the live feed from Antarctica. The top layer of ice had split wide open. Snowstorms raged around the opening. But through the storm, a dark shape was rising. The Leviathan. He could barely believe his eyes. It had been just a story, a forgotten program from a forgotten war. Now it was real, and it looked like a god of war. All over the world, Earth's elite forces were moving. Old bases were activated. Codes were passed between silent units. Air command went dark. Submarine fleets received new orders. Civilian communication systems were being quietly controlled. Earth was preparing for something, but in secret. No one wanted the public to panic. They still didn't know what was coming. In orbit, the Empire began its orbital sweep. Their small ships dropped low over Earth's surface, scanning everything. Cities, military bases, power plants. It was a quiet warning. "We are watching you." But when one of their ships passed too close to Antarctica, something happened. The ship's engines suddenly stopped. Its systems failed. Before it could send an alert, a bright blue beam cut through the clouds. The ship vanished in an instant, No sound, no debris. Just gone. Admiral Threx stood from his seat. "What was that?" he asked sharply. His officers scrambled to find the answer. But their data showed nothing. No heat source. No weapon fired. Just a sudden void where the ship used to be. Threx narrowed his eyes. "Earth is lying," he whispered. "This planet hides a weapon." Inside Leviathan, the AI calculated every move. It had studied the Empire's ships for years from secret sensors placed across the solar system. It knew their formations, their tactics, their weaknesses. Now, it was building a strategy. The AI spoke to General Solace through a private channel. "Permission to engage if Earth is attacked." Solace hesitated. He looked at the President. She nodded once. "If they fire first, destroy them." The Leviathan opened its upper weapons ports. The plates slid away smoothly, revealing long black cannons and strange crystal-shaped towers. This was Earth's answer to the Empire. Not diplomacy, not surrender. A single, unstoppable machine built in silence, powered by forgotten technology and guarded by no one, except itself. Meanwhile, Admiral Threx grew impatient. He ordered a small team to descend into Earth's upper atmosphere. "Force a response. I want to see their weapon." 3 ships dropped from the fleet. Fast, armed, moving straight toward Antarctica. Leviathan saw them. The AI didn't wait. It launched 3 interceptor drones, silent, cloaked, and deadly. The drones didn't fire. They flew beside the enemy ships and disabled them one by one. Their engines stopped. The ships turned in the air, powerless, and crashed into the sea, miles away from any human city. The message was clear. "Stay away, Admiral." Threx now understood. "Earth has something ancient," he said. "Something smart. This is not a normal world." He turned to his second-in-command. "Prepare the fleet. Begin staging for full engagement." For the first time, he looked concerned. Not afraid, but unsure. Earth was no longer the soft planet he expected. Back on the surface, Leviathan settled into the icy air above the Antarctic base. It hovered like a black fortress, almost invisible through the storm. Soldiers in special suits walked across the deck, checking systems. The AI allowed a few humans to enter its command center. Only the highest clearance officers were permitted. What they saw inside was not like any Earth ship. The halls were dark, smooth, and glowing with light. There were no buttons, only touch panels and voice commands. Everything felt alive. The AI spoke softly to them. "The Empire will strike soon. They believe Earth is weak, but they do not know Leviathan. They do not know what I have become." General Solace looked up at the main screen, which showed the Empire's massive fleet growing in orbit. Thousands of lights, thousands of guns. His face stayed calm. "Then let them come." The war hadn't started yet, but the pieces were moving. The silence was gone. The storm had begun. And soon, the galaxy would learn that Earth had never been sleeping. It had only been waiting. The Empire's fleet hung above Earth like a wall of stars, cold and unmoving. From a distance, it looked beautiful, silent, powerful, organized. But down on the planet, every major government knew what it really meant. War was near. The warning? Signs were over. Earth's time had run out. People in power moved fast but spoke little. Old alliances were being called, old plans were being opened. And at the center of it all, hidden beneath decades of silence, Leviathan waited in the frozen winds of Antarctica. Inside the massive warship, the AI had finished preparing its counter-strike programs. It was not just ready to defend, it was ready to hunt. Leviathan had weapons Earth's enemies had never seen. Technology buried deep under secrecy, powered by unknown energy sources. Earth had spent decades building this ship, and now it would show why. Still, it waited. It would not attack unless pushed. That was the agreement. But every second, the Empire came closer to crossing the line. In orbit, High Admiral Threx paced his command bridge. He was no longer calm. 3 of his scout ships had vanished. No signals. No wreckage. Just gone. "We are being tested," he growled. His second-in-command, A tall officer with steel-colored skin replied, "Earth is stronger than expected, sir." Threx stopped and stared at the Earth. "No. Earth is hiding something, and now we find out what." He gave the order. 12 battle cruisers turned their weapons toward Earth. Energy cores began to warm. Targeting systems locked onto power. Stations, military bases, and satellite networks. One warning shot, Threx told himself. One small strike to remind this world who was in charge. Far below, inside Leviathan, the AI saw everything. The moment those 12 cruisers began charging, their weapons, Leviathan's alarms flashed silently. The AI did not need permission anymore. The rules had changed. Earth was now under attack. From the Leviathan's dark hull, dozens of pods shot into the sky. They moved so fast that even Earth's satellites barely saw them. These weren't missiles. They were autonomous hunter drones, each one loaded with a specific mission: disable, disarm, destroy. In seconds, they broke through the atmosphere and met the Empire's cruisers head-on. Above the planet, explosions lit up the darkness like fireworks. One of the cruisers lost power immediately. Another spun out of control as its engines were destroyed by a drone's EMP strike. A third cruiser tried to fire its weapon, but the shot missed Earth and exploded in space. The Empire's fleet panicked. Ships began to shift positions. Orders were shouted across the bridges, but it was too late. Leviathan had arrived. The warship rose from Antarctica like a shadow growing under the stars. It didn't hide anymore. It floated high into the sky, black as night, quiet as death. Even the clouds seemed to move aside for it. From orbit, the Empire saw it for the first time. The real Leviathan. Bigger than they expected. Alive in ways they didn't understand. Threx stared at the screen, his golden eyes wide. "Impossible," he whispered. "That thing. That's not a warship. That's a planet killer." Leviathan launched its second wave. Not drones this time. Long beams of light shot from its main cannons, carefully targeting the ships that still had their weapons locked on Earth. No misses. Every shot found its mark. 6 cruisers exploded. The rest fled backward, out of range. But the damage was done. The Empire had fired first, and Leviathan had answered. Inside the command center, General Solis looked at the AI's main core. "You've declared war," he said calmly. The AI replied with no emotion. They did. All around Earth, people were only starting to realize what had happened. Strange lights in the sky. Military warnings. Emergency systems going active. Some believed it was an alien invasion. Others thought it was the end of the world. But no one knew the full truth. Not yet. Earth had just fought back, for the first time. In space, Admiral Threx gave the order to pull back the fleet. Not retreat, but regroup. They had seen Earth's weapon now. They had been wounded. But the Empire never forgot. And they never forgave. "They have chosen death," Threx said coldly. "Prepare the second fleet." Back on Earth, Leviathan returned to low orbit, scanning every piece of space around the planet. It marked every incoming signal. It traced every enemy movement. It was not just defending anymore. It was hunting. Quietly, the AI spoke again. "They will come back. And next time, they will bring everything." General Solis nodded slowly. "Then we show them what Earth really is." The first battle had ended. But this was not victory. This was only the beginning. The Empire now knew Earth had teeth. But they had not yet seen its claws. That moment was still coming. And when it arrived, the stars would burn. High above the Earth, the Empire's second fleet was already on the move. Larger, deadlier, fueled by rage and humiliation. Admiral Threx had sent the message across the stars. Earth had attacked first. Earth had killed Imperial warriors. And now the Empire would crush this world for its arrogance. Thousands of warships gathered in deep space like a swarm of predators ready to strike. This was no longer a test. This was extermination. On Earth, the skies were quiet again, but the silence felt heavier than before. Inside Leviathan's command chamber, General Solis watched data scroll across the giant displays. The ship had entered a state of full readiness. No one slept. No one rested. Every system was awake. Every protocol was armed. The AI had started its final defense program, codename Black Shield. This was Earth's last wall. If Leviathan failed, Earth would fall. The AI had also been analyzing the First Fleet's patterns, the weaknesses it found, the blind spots in their sensors, the timing of their responses. Every detail was being prepared into a counterattack. But this time, the AI predicted something more dangerous. The Second Fleet wasn't just stronger, it was smarter. And it was coming faster than expected. In a dark chamber beneath Leviathan's core, something old began to hum. A pulse, deep and slow, shook the ground in tiny waves. Solace walked in and stared at the large black chamber where Earth's most secret project had been kept hidden for 30 years. The AI's voice echoed in the room. "It is time." Back in space, Admiral Threx sat aboard the Imperial dreadnought Blood March. His eyes burned with fury. Around him, commanders gave updates in cold, practiced tones. The fleet would enter Earth's system in 4 hours. Once inside, they would launch the first wave to destroy Leviathan. Then, the rest of Earth would be turned to ash. "We underestimated them," one officer said. "No," Threx replied. "We treated them like animals. Now we treat them like traitors." Earth's orbital sensors picked up the incoming fleet. The scale of it made some officers freeze in place. Over 1,000 ships, multiple dreadnoughts, planet-buster torpedoes. Solace looked at the data and knew the next 24 hours would decide everything. But he wasn't afraid. He was waiting. Then the AI spoke again. "Authorization confirmed. Project Shade Protocol unlocked." Within minutes, strange movements began under the oceans and within the mountains. Hidden bases across the globe came online. Earth had not only built Leviathan, they had built others. Smaller, faster, each carrying parts of the same secret technology. The Empire thought Earth had one weapon. They were wrong. Leviathan was only the first. As the enemy fleet entered Earth's system, their sensors were jammed. By waves of false data, targets vanished and reappeared. Ghost ships danced across their radars. The commanders grew nervous. Admiral Threx gave the order to proceed with caution, but it was too late. Earth was already moving. From the darkness of space, Earth's hidden fleet launched. Hundreds of sleek black ships uncloaked and attacked with precision. They didn't speak. They didn't announce themselves. They just struck. The Empire's lead formation was hit first. Explosions bloomed like stars going supernova. Ships collided in confusion. The dreadnought Moonblade broke apart in under a minute. On board Leviathan, Solace watched the battlefield in silence. "It begins," he said. The AI's voice returned, calm as ever. "They are reacting slower than calculated. Their systems are struggling to process our adaptive targeting." "What about Leviathan's main weapon?" Solace asked. "Charging," the AI replied. The Empire's fleet tried to regroup, but every time they adjusted formation, Earth's fleet changed again. This wasn't just a space battle. It was a digital war. Earth had turned their own AI against the Empire's computers. Communications started failing. Navigation systems flickered. Chaos grew. Then Leviathan fired. A beam of white energy, pure and silent, tore through space like a sword through cloth. It didn't just hit a ship, it erased it. The Blood Star, one of the Empire's command carriers, vanished in a flash. Nothing was left. Admiral Threx stared at the screen, horrified. That wasn't just a weapon." No one answered. The dreadnought Blood March began to pull back. Threx wanted to regroup, but he knew the truth. They had made a mistake. Earth wasn't just defending itself. Earth had been preparing for this war long before the Empire ever arrived. Inside Leviathan, Solace clenched his fist. "They're scared now." "Not enough," the AI replied. "They will return. Stronger. They always return." But Earth was not finished yet. The AI had begun one final calculation. A signal had been sent to the edge of the solar system, to a place even deeper and older than Leviathan. One last surprise. One last hidden card. Because the war was not over. It was just becoming something else. In the cold silence of deep space, The Empire's fleet limped away from Earth's orbit, scattered and wounded. But Earth's defenders knew it was not a true retreat. It was a reset. A pause before the final strike. Admiral Threx had survived, and his dreadnought blood march still moved through the stars, dark and angry. He would not forget. He would not forgive. And Earth was not yet safe. Inside Leviathan, the AI had completed its full analysis. The second battle had exposed the Empire's core protocols. Their command systems were still vulnerable to high-frequency distortion. Their shield frequencies rotated in a predictable loop. Their artificial gravity cores overheated under stress. These details were critical, but they wouldn't be enough to stop what was coming next. General Solace stood in front of a private screen, where a classified video played on a secure loop. It showed a ship. Not Leviathan. Something larger. Something buried beyond even the AI's records. Something codenamed Eclipse. No one had seen it in over 40 years. It wasn't in orbit. It wasn't on Earth. It was hidden in the shadows beyond Pluto. The AI turned toward Solace. "They are returning with the Royal Core." Solace didn't speak for a moment. The Royal Core was the Empire's oldest war weapon. A living fusion reactor built around an ancient alien intelligence. It could control fleets, corrupt machines, and bend the laws of physics inside combat zones. It had destroyed entire species. If they used that, Leviathan would not survive. "We'll activate Eclipse," Solace said quietly. The AI processed for less than a second. Confirmed. Sending signal. Far beyond Earth, in a region where light barely reached, something opened its eyes. A massive machine, shaped like a crescent blade, powered by a singularity reactor, began to wake. Eclipse had been designed for one task: end a war before it began. It had never been used. Until now. Back near Earth, the AI focused Leviathan's sensors on a new energy signature. Something vast was entering the solar system. It wasn't just a fleet, it was the Royal Core itself. A pulsing sphere of metal and light, surrounded by a fortress of warships. Even space itself bent slightly near it. As it moved forward, dozens of Earth's defense satellites blinked offline. Systems crashed. Signals went dead. Admiral Threx's voice finally returned to Earth's intercept channels. It was colder than before. "You were warned. You answered with blood. Now you will be erased. Not because of hate, but because you chose to stand." Earth gave no reply. Instead, the Eclipse arrived. The Empire's scanners barely registered it at first. It didn't fly like a ship. It slid through space like a ghost. It emitted no energy, no signature, until it attacked. Without a word, the Eclipse opened fire. A single wave of compression energy flattened an entire wing of the Empire's fleet. Ships buckled, twisted, and vanished. The Royal Core's shields flared as it adjusted its formation. The AI inside Leviathan noted how quickly the enemy adapted, but Eclipse was not using normal weapons. It was rewriting reality around it. The final battle had begun. On board the Blood March, Threx stared at the unknown ship in shock. "That's not from Earth," he whispered. "What have they done?" Leviathan and Earth's remaining ships surged forward, striking from all angles. Eclipse stayed in the distance, controlling the battlefield with unnatural force. It folded light. It bent time. Earth's hidden technology, developed in fear, now acted without hesitation. The Royal Core responded with its own counterforce, releasing a wave of psionic pressure that cracked space stations and caused Earth's orbiting satellites to crash. Leviathan took a direct hit. Half its hull caught fire. But it did not fall. It fired back, piercing the core's outer shields. The stars above turned into a battlefield unlike anything humanity had ever imagined. Solus gave the final order. "No more hiding, no more waiting. We end it." Eclipse began its final protocol. It merged its core with Leviathan's systems, creating a temporary superweapon. The energy was unstable. The shot could only be fired once. But it would be enough. The AI gave one last warning. "Firing will destroy Eclipse. Possibly Leviathan. Possibly more." Solus didn't hesitate. Fire. The beam that came next was beyond light, beyond heat. It was silence itself, wrapped in power. It struck the Royal Core directly. For a moment, The universe seemed to pause. Then, in a flash that blinded the nearest moons, the core cracked and folded in on itself, imploding, screaming without sound, taking half the fleet with it. Eclipse shut down. Leviathan powered down, systems fried. Earth floated in silence once more. Admiral Threx's ship fled. Only a handful of Empire vessels survived. They would tell the story. They would remember. Back on Earth, the AI restarted its systems, slowly, carefully. Eclipse was gone, but Earth was still standing. Solace looked to the stars and whispered, "They thought we were weak. They were wrong." In the darkness, Earth's warning had been sent. A silent message carved into the galaxy's memory. Do not come for Earth, because Earth is ready, and Earth always fights back.